Second less currently frequent are the stream eloquent చాలా మంది పెట్టింగ్ వస్తుంది
1 minute ఉంది చూడండి ఒకసారి. హాయ్ గైస్, గుడ్ మార్నింగ్. Okay, so I think yesterday we have created a couple of components in order to prepare a home page. So what are we going to plan today? We are going to plan to create other concepts, and let me start running an application, guys. So if you can see yesterday what we created, I'm just taking 2 minutes of time to explain about what we created yesterday. So we created app.js. In that app.js file we have created a couple of components like slider, and we also created a benefits component. We also created a footer component. And today I just see, instead of keeping everything inside a single component, then we are going to violate the rule of our React. So generally React, we do have a concept called routing. So we can't even route everything within a single component. So the ultimate goal of component, so let me talk about what is componentization. So I'll also, meanwhile I'll also give some sort of time for others to join. Maybe people are going to join in another minute or two, so that we'll also encourage other people to join by talking older concepts. Then once everybody are joins, then we'll be able to keep moving ahead and talk about latest concepts. Just meanwhile I would like to run my application. AchieversIT ecom. As usual, you have to open a command prompt. Guys, there are multiple ways that we can execute application. Either you can open editor. In the editor we do have a terminal, but I would prefer all the people to open a terminal separately. Why? Because editor we will be using for writing a code. So I can, as what I'm trying to say here, there is an option for us to run a terminal as well. If you are opening the terminal, what happens, which is going to take at least 30% of your editor space, and which is in turn it will be difficult for a developer to write a code only on this particular portion. That's why, to enhance a better quality of a time that you are going to work and the space, I am just recommending you to use separate terminal. In this terminal, npm start, so which is going to start your application. Okay, so let it start. Behind the scenes it is going to run the application. Fine. So now what I'm planning to explain today, however, see, header, this is one component. We also use slider, we also use benefits component, we also use footer, and all others that we have already created like this. Since our application is running now, this is the pages that we have created. Now guys, since yesterday we created a footer, let me start from footer, and again I would like to change a footer according to my particular requirements. Okay, so now see, let me modify footer according to the requirements, and I don't want this particular code. And as per our, since we copied this header from a Bootstrap website. Okay, now what I'm trying to do, there are a couple of CSS and some sort of CSS issues are there. So we must have to first check what is the CSS. So far we are not talking about any products. The e-commerce, first if you build a basic structure to your application, then slowly we can also build a products page and product listing page and product details page. Like that we will be able to create it. Next, see here, I am going back to my footer. So my sincere suggestion for all of you guys, kindly close all other, except app.js. Let me close others. Next, I am going back to footer. Let me open. See here, whatever the files that you are planning to execute it, you try to keep only that particular files. Remaining others, you try to remove it. And I don't want this, I'm just modifying. This also you guys have to understand. This is maybe a minor changes, but still you people understand minor changes. Copyrights, @copy is HTML entity, all rights reserved, and AH reference here. We are also giving AchieversIT logo or AchieversIT. www.achieversit. In case tomorrow when you guys are working on your application, the website, maybe the domain name of your server or your client domain name that you must have to give. Okay, fine. This is done. Then home. See, in our case, we don't have a terms, privacy, policy, contact. All these are not there. According to our project, maximum we have home, about us, products, blog, and cart. So try to keep home, about, products, blog, cart. That's all. So they have given different links, but we have only few. That is fine. Next, I am coming back to this. Don't miss our subscription. That is fine. Subscription. Okay. To subscribe here, in case home, about, services, portfolio. If you want these useful links, you keep it, and if you don't want, you can even remove that also. So here, my plan is to use a logo also in the bottom of a page. Okay, guys. So here, import AchieversIT.com, or maybe, so in case if you wanted to training set AchieversIT.com. Fine. And AchieversIT mobile number that we are keeping. So either you can even call to me 921726818. You can even call to me. I'll be able to respond. Okay, here the address. So we are located in Bangalore. Okay, so let me copy our Bangalore address, maps.google.com. But this is just all about how are we going to use the same techniques. You must have to use it in the applications also. Don't worry. So next, trainings at AchieversIT.com, and the logo. So logo, however, if you go back to our header component, if you can see, I think in the header component we have used in app.js. We also imported a logo. Same way, if you wanted to use it inside our footer, so what we can do, let me directly use logo also in our footer. So in the place of src, I am planning to use a logo. Since we are getting logo is not defined, so you must have to define the logo within our component. So same, however, we have imported a logo into our component. Footer also we are just importing it. Now after making it changes, now the Facebook pages. See, we have crafted here, if you can observe, the HTML, CSS, the design related tasks I am not taking care. Why? Because I assume that all the participants have a knowledge on Bootstrap, HTML and JavaScript, CSS, some sort of basics. If you don't have, you all please try to request. So trainings at AchieversIT.com. You can even send an email will definitely give you guys the older like HTML tutorial, videos and CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, all the videos that we will be able to send it to you. Okay, but don't even try to think that if you don't have a basics knowledge HTML, CSS and JavaScript, learning this training program will become a little bit tough. Okay, fine. Now here logo we have placed, and we are also going to take care about who we are. The basics. So the same sort of footer also you can copy paste and you can do it. So now the text also I'm copying from my website. Next we have Facebook, Twitter and Google. So let me go for, we do have Facebook one. Copy this link address, go back to the Facebook page. In the place of H reference we are going to give Facebook, and in the place of Twitter, copy the link address of a Twitter. And so let me go for YouTube. So here we are not going to use Facebook, Google Plus. We are going to use Font Awesome. This particular icon is not there, we won't even load this icon, but we have to fix that icon. Let me go back and check. So now if you go index.js cannot resolve logo.jpg, the path also we must have to check. Let us go back to our index, I think index.js, module not found, cannot resolve logo.jpg. Here since we are there inside footer, one step backward and 2 steps backward, we will also find a logo.jpg, 2 steps backward. In that case, 1 step backward, 2 steps. This is how you must have to come. You have to refer the logo path. Now here, the path is also ready. Now the logo is also there. Guys, if you want this find as, call as, mail as and useful links. Okay. Home, about, services, portfolio. If you want these guys, again these guys are not even working as expected. Now here also links are not even working. See here, first you have to keep looking after this. Now let me keep deleting these useful links, okay, and subscription and useful links also. Some sort of CSS issues are there. If you are good at CSS, you will be able to make sure that you can even fix those CSS issues. Now here the Font Awesome. See, let me go for only FAB is a latest version. Font Awesome, latest version. If you are using Font Awesome 5.x, then FAB is a master class. And if you are using 5.x lesser than the versions, if you are using an older version of Font Awesome, the main class is FA. Okay, so next let me check. I think for YouTube, all this YouTube link, and see the difference between Font Awesome older versions and newer version is some animations, beautiful animations comes into your picture. Guys, just give me 1 minute. Okay, so next, so let me reset about this guys, and here useful links. If you want, for example, home, this is our application related. Okay, now what I'm going to do, let me resolve these issues. So here all the useful links, they are displaying in a single line. So if you wanted to allow them to display in line by line. Now first you have to check this. Right click, inspect an element. Some sort of CSS are missing. Okay. Go back, ULLI. This float left, they have used in app.css, they have used a concept called float left. And also width 50%, display inline black. And this CSS float left, since they have used, that is where these issues are coming. And let me check. And according to my project requirements, I don't want those CSS to be executed. I am going to make these guys a display block level. So even if I am making display block level, so which is not working as expected, so why? So I must have to check header. See, this is one of the CSS which we have written, headers comma UL. This is creating a problem. Guys, listen carefully. Header comma UL. I made that parent as display flex earlier. My old CSS which I have prepared for my header, which is creating a problem now. See here, one important point all of you guys have to remember. Though we are talking, you can also think that is that something like React application or Angular application or maybe HTML application. If you have a doubt, you have to wait. Why? Because React is something not new. I already said several times, React is all about a library which will help us to create a components. But again, if you wanted to build a component, you should know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap. Okay, so I hope you have that much of familiar knowledge. And next, what I'm going to do, if I go back to my previous app.css, in the place of initially what I did, header space UL, I think somewhere, yes. Here the UL which are there in header only, I have to make it display flex. I don't want to disturb the ULs which are there in my footer. In that case, next, my existing CS, no one is going to check like this. Seriously, I'm telling you. And as long as if the size of your component increases, my dear friends, if you are making any of sort of CSS issues comes into a picture, to resolve them, you should have a lot of patience. Now see, I made one small change. That small change is also making a lot of impact. Now this is best price, fast delivery, and free return. And also I am also going to create one more strip. What are in the home page, the popular products. Let me create a popular products. So here step by step I am just creating, my dear friends. You please understand, popular products are frequently added products or something like that. Now if you wanted to add a popular products, so what I am going to do, I'll try to copy the code. Google products, e-commerce product listing. Say how I am searching, you please try to understand. So page sample bootstrap, design bootstrap. So I am also going, see, product details page, product listing page, bootstrap 5. I am going to check like this. Code pen. So if I'll try to check in code pen also, I'll try to get it. So here I don't want to rewrite a code, because only React code I am going to copy. I am going to rewrite, but HTML, CSS, Bootstrap code I am going to copy it. Now you see here one pen. Try to open a pen. In this pen, so if any one of them, if you like the designs, so if you want all these kind of animations, whatever the example that these guys have used, we will be able to use it. And so this is completely has used different navigation system, but I don't want to keep creating that, but my approach is completely different. So what I'm going to do, I'll try to use one more pen, which is matching our requirement. Okay, this is also poor design. And so guys, listen carefully. So bestseller, new arrival, most wanted. So this pen has some problems. Now what we can do, we can also create a card in case if you are not getting any of the ready-made code, or so in that case what you have to create your own code. So for that what I am going to do, guys, listen carefully. I am going for Bootstrap 5. We have a card. So cards. So let me go for Bootstrap 5 cards. Cards is one of the component which is ready-made available for building a products. Now I'm explaining you how are we going to create a card. This is one of the card. Let me create this card. So because according to your requirements, it will be time waste in case if you are not getting the right information from you for you in Google. So now this card I'm just copying only this. Let me copy this. Now I copied the code. I am going to create one more popular products component. So that also I will try to keep it inside my, right after benefits I will try to create under the benefits, in between benefits and footer. So as usual I am going back to my components, and so today I will also create one more folder, container. Guys, listen, container. You should understand what sort of information that we are going to put under containers. So container, see, a smart components, which are also called as stateful components, I will try to keep it inside a containers folder, and normal presentational components I will try to keep it inside a components. This particular information also you must have to understand very well. So guys, here when you guys are building an application, this is a time for me to explain. Just give me 1 minute. You can check. No, but here one important point. Okay, so when you are working on any of these React based applications, so let me talk about two types of components as I highlighted. This is important points. That is where I'm just explaining here. Components also, as we discussed, there are two types of components. One is stateful, another one is stateless. Okay, so guys, stateless components always it will render the fast. Now these guys, you should make sure that your application must contain more stateless components. But when you see, if you are using stateless components, what happens, you can't create a reactiveness to your application. So if every component is a stateless component, that cannot be a reactive application. That can be a just static application. But by using stateful, you can even add some behavior. We can add behavior to your component. We can allow user to interact with your component. As per user interactions, we can also keep writing some functionality into your component elements. Now, but in which scenarios? So I also many people started asking, and when are we going to use, the question here, when are we going to use stateful components? Stateful and stateless. This is one of the biggest question mark for freshers. I'll tell you, my dear friends, in the component chain, in the list of components, in the pool of components in your application, guys, make sure that if any component, if it has to collect the data from your middleware, and if your component need to understand what sort of the data logic if you are writing inside a component, try to make that component as stateful components. In our example also I'll tell you, see the product, it is a popular products. So here this popular product component, I am creating it as a stateful. This I am creating it as stateful. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah. So I am creating here my state, the popular product. You understand, I will also explain why this mechanism that we are using. Okay. This is stateful component. Now in case maybe I am going to on click of each product, so I have to load, for example in this popular products, so there will be a product number 1. It can also contain product number 2. It can also contain product number 3 and product number n. On click of each one of the product, we also route to, we should redirect to a product details page. This is product details component. Now this is product details. Now this product details component is a child of our popular product list popular product. Now guys, this one I will make it as stateless. And I can reserve this particular component as presentational component. So by keeping stateless, I hope you understand. Now my parent component is a stateful component. This is stateful component. I am keeping the child is a stateless component only for presentation. In that way, so what happens, my application speed also I can improve. So one thumb rule, guys, in order to improve the performance, make sure that your components, most of the component must be stateless components, not tested. But as I already said, it is difficult for a developer to create a dynamic application by using only stateless. It is not possible. We have to use a combination of stateful and stateless components. But when are we going to use stateful? When are we going to use stateless? Again, I am repeating, if any component, if you are planning to write a data logic, today, if you are pulling the data from middleware or any XYZ source, if you are writing a logic with respect to your data, then you please try to use stateful components. And from that parent component, you are just using a component to display the data. I don't want to rewrite any logic in order to present the data, and only we have to keep passing the information from my parent. The child has to collect the data from parent and it has to display in a child component. In such scenarios, you try to use as presentational components, which we can also call it as stateless components. So this information you try to keep, remembering the concept. Then I'll try to, erase this. Clear? Then here, I have created a separate folder. That's why here also when you are going for interviews, people will ask about what is containers, what is components. Stateless components, keep it in component section. Stateless components. Stateful components, try to keep it here. That is only naming conventions. There is no much difference. Stateful. So these containers, these guys, these components, they are well aware of logic. They are aware of a data logic. Whereas coming to stateless concept, they don't know. Not aware of a data logic. So these guys, I can also call these guys as dump components. Dump are only presentational. As name suggests, they are just only presentational components. So how many people? 30. Okay, so now this is fine. Okay, if you can see, dump components are always helping a React application to improve the performance. But still, if you wanted to write a logic with respect to your component, you try to use stateful components. Okay, so I hope you are aware of why I have created components folder and why I have created containers folder. Now, so here I will try to keep my product, either it may be a popular products or it may be a recently added products or whatever the list it is. I am going to create one more component inside my container. Guys, listen carefully. So I am going back to containers folder now. I will create one new folder, popular products. So inside this folder I am going to create a file index.jsx or JSX. Fine. As usual, I am going to import React from React. This is a header file that we are going to import it in order to create our components. Next, as usual, I am going to use arrow functions. So let me use let popular products. Popular products. So in this popular product, step by step that I am explaining, since it is an arrow method, I am going to use arrow function syntaxes. Popular product. Now here, this is a functional component. I can also maintain the state by using functional component using a hooks, or else I can also create. So far, I think you guys are familiar with functional components. Now let me introduce a class component here. Guys. So for you people to understand, but that is up to you. I will also conclude later. Now today I am going to use this popular product as class component. Class example I am just giving, class component. Class followed by component name. Popular product. Products. This is going to extends from React component. This is a React component. Now within this class, guys, what I am going to do, I am going to use a constructor to set the default state. Constructor method. This is a special member function, and this member function also have a super method. This super method is the one which is going to inherit the constructor from a parent constructor. It is going to inherit into my child. So here some sort of inheritance also you should also have a knowledge. Now every class component should also have a render method. Render is a function. This function should return output. So guys, here we are also using fragments. Let me go back and we try to use fragment. So here, which is still giving an error. Let me check why it is giving an error. Okay, constructor, popular product, useless constructor. It is fine. So until unless if you are not setting any of the state for your component. Now I'll also explain about what is state, what is properties. Step by step I'll explain those who are completely new to this React. For them it will be easier for you people to understand. That is fine. Now guys, on default properties that we are also getting it. Power is not there. Okay, here component. This class also we have to inherit. Fine. Now here I am going to define the default state. Why should we define a default state? I'll tell you, my dear friends. This dot state is equal to, I'm going to make this one as an object or array of object. Okay, first I have defined default state. Now this particular component, we have to make it as a module. So that is why I think every component we have to make it as a module. Export. Default is a keyword. I am making my component as a default component. And my component name is popular product. Fine, done. Now see, since it is popular component, here what are we going to do? We are just keeping only, guys, listen carefully. Here I will try to keep only H1 or H3, popular products. I'll also build this product list step by step. Done. Now I would like to use this component. So far I have not implemented this component, just the definition, the basic component I have created. Now how can I use this component? As usual, I am going back to my app.js. In between benefits and footer, I am just loading my component. But you should also download this popular component. Now guys, however you have imported benefits, footer, try to import my component, import. So here we are going to import a component name, popular products, popular. So you try to use the help of editor. The editor is going to help you to import the popular product which is under containers. Done. Now if you go on reload, so popular products came. Now here guys, all you need to do, I'm just opening that in a new tab. Fine. Next what I'm going to do, I must have to design my component. So I hope you people are familiar the syntaxes with class component and functional components. And by default class components, here the points to remember. Now in this exercise, try to remember what are the points that you have to remember. The point number 1. First, class components are stateful components default. So this point you try to understand. Next, now here constructor, you should understand class keyword, class. If you are from object-oriented programming background, class is for us is a keyword for creating a class. Now here you should also understand what is extends. Extends is a keyword for achieving inheritance. Achieving inheritance. Now in this case, my React component is a base class. This is called as a base class. Understand this, because my popular product is a derived class. This is called as derived class. Now, whatever the features which are there in my base class, I will be able to inherit those base class for properties and member functions into my derived class. That is where this extends is helping us to inherit the features of my base class into derived class. I hope you are aware of it. Next point, you should also understand what is constructor. Constructor is a special member function. It is a special member function that invokes automatically. When the instance is created. When instance is created for a class. Instance. This is very important point. Instance created for a class. So all the constructing to your data properties and loading, parent class constructor and some sort of libraries if you want to load within your constructor. Maybe if the class is depending on third-party libraries or third-party, files, you can even load them within your constructor and you will be able to use them inside your class. That is what the constructor is, a special member function. Now one more point to remember. What is super? Super is a keyword which is going to invoke parent class constructor. Invoking parent class constructor. Into child class. Cool. And as usual, you guys are aware of it. Every component will also have a render method. Next, one more important point here. What is state? Guys, state. It is an object. An object that hold component data. Okay, this is read and writable, immutable. I mean to say this data is mutable. Mutable data. You can also say that you can update this state. Okay, so how are we going to update? I'll try to explain. These are the important points that you're supposed to remember, my dear friends. Okay, so next, I hope you people are already familiar with this, and in case if you are not aware of what is state, moving forward you will get to know. A state is an object that holds component data. But ultimate goal, every component, it is going to represent the data to the end user. And if you wanted to display the data into your component, that is where we must have to come back to this state. Now I hold my state. The component data, I made it only empty data. Then slowly the popular products, I'll try to make it static. Once you guys are aware of how to create a component with a static nature, then I'll be keep explaining you how to make your component dynamic. That step by step that we'll be able to run. I hope you understand. Okay, cool. Next, what I'm trying to say, here the card, which with the bootstrap card, whatever I just picked up, that card I am going to use it. Now you see, and I'll try to use it in my. So here I am going to use it. I'm keep using it. But directly card if you are writing without preparing a layout concept, that won't even work. Now to place this card completely into one layout, I am just taking one section So within this section, guys, what I am going to do, let me take one division. The division, one row I am just taking. Again, inside that I am taking our columns. Now for each, I would like to place 3 images or 4 images per row. So for that, what I am going to do, I am planning to display one card. I'll try to place a card here, dummy card that I am placing here. Now I am also duplicating this card. See here, class, right from the beginning, the layout class. In Bootstrap, if you are familiar with Bootstrap, class name, followed by here I am just using container. Container, it is a fixed layout class. I am just using predefined class in Bootstrap. Again, I am using the grid system. Class name, row. In that row, I am going to make 3 images per row. Okay, class name. So here I am going to use call hyphen md hyphen 4 plus 4 plus 4, then 12 columns. This formula I am just using. Cool. Okay. Now what I am going to do, let me copy paste this entire row. I think this is a somewhere some sort of JSX fragment has no corresponding close tag. Yes. Why? Because somewhere image is there. This image we must have to close, self-closing. We should always do that. Now style width. So in order to write an inline CSS in Java, in React, the inline CSS is something different. Reference attribute required a valid value. It's fine. So since it is not having a required value, fine for timing, guys. Now I am going to duplicate this particular card. So if you are familiar with Bootstrap, then understanding of this is dead easy. 2, 3. Okay, fine. Now go back to my web page and understand how my card is created. Now you see, this is how popular products has to come with little top. So the heading we have to keep it inside in the beginning. Now let me go back, and right after the container I am also creating a heading for popular products. Here the image also. So if you wanted to sell different books like Abdul Kalam's or book images that I am going to get. So let me get APJ books. So Abdul Kalam books, My Journey, Vision 2020, India 2020, like that. These images only I'll try to get some wings of fire, some images. Save this image. I am saving inside my project documents. AchieversIT Ecom, SRC, assets, APJ. So here APJs are quotations are there. I can also create. So here the book 1.jpg. Software. Let me go for this one, live. Save image. On 3 images that I'll build boss. 2.jpg. My journey. Save images 3.jpg. Enough. For time being, 3 images that I am going to use it. Come back to my project. I am going to use in the place of images. Here we have to import the images. Either you can use absolute path, you can also use a relative path. Now, so we are inside a container popular products. One step, 2 steps. Again, the path also we have to define the path, guys. What I will say, I am going to keep downloading them. Import. So first book 1 from what I can say, in the previous directory, upload products, assets, apj/1.jpg. Now let me use this one, first image. Let me go back and check whether it is loading here or not. I'm going to check. Now that image is also loading. Similarly, so 2.jpg we have to download it. There are multiple ways that you can do it, but still I'm just using easiest way for all of you to understand. 2, 3. So this is data binding technique. Once the data comes into our place, we are just binding the data back to our component. So ReactJS supports unidirectional data binding. Now alternate text, first we will try to load. So these are the 3 images. But if you wanted to, because this images sizes also varies, and if you want to keep writing it in a different way, and the sizes, one is small, another one is a little bigger. If you wanted to uniformly write some sort of CSS, guys, in Bootstrap we also have a predefined class. So guys, and one more thing, everywhere classes are there, right? Change it to class names. So here, in order to do that, Control H. In the place of class, we have to replace with class name. So that is how in React we have to give a class name. There are 20. Let me see here. From here, I'll try to find out. So here, class name. When you are replacing, be careful. Replace one by one. Class name, class name, class name, class name. No. Control Z. Next. Replace, 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 replace. Carefully, you guys have to keep checking. Replace. Yes, done. Now replace this. Go back to your code. Now the sizes you can control by using width. For this image, what we can do, width 75, height also I will use height 50. Let me use width 75 and height 50. So this is how the image is displayed. Similarly, or else width 100, height 75 I'll give. Why? Because if I am giving width 75, the unwanted space is available in the element. So next what I am going to do, width I will make it as 100. The CSS also matters, writing a code, however the functionality is important. Same way the design is also very important. If the design is not so great, of course your page, people are not going to like your page. That's why, my dear friends, it is always important to make functionality neat and clean, design also neat and clean. This class I am going to use it for every image. you can see that HTML and CSS JavaScript I am managing with Bootstrap. Now, so in the place of this title, the book title, what is this about? Abdul Kalam's Wings of Fire, an autobiography, Wings of Fire. The book title also what I can do, I can make this one as Wings of Fire title. So here in the place of go somewhere, I can make it as add to cart. Add to cart, done. Then second book is APJ Kalam, A Life. Abdul Kalam, A Life. I can say A Life. So here also same add to cart. Development is dead easy, my dear friends. It's all about copy paste. But you should know how to copy and paste. Third book is My Journey. So this is how I think we have created popular products. If you wanted to highlight this popular product in a different way, that is fine. On click of add to cart, so all you need to do is you have to keep writing a cart logic. So that cart logic we'll try to keep writing it on the because so there are many techniques that you're supposed to understand. So until unless if you're not familiar with this React, you may not able to directly add a product into the cart. Now guys, here one important point you must have to understand. Here only popular 3 products that we have added. Now I must have to create, you can see here this is just a home page. I created a home page like this. Now my plan is to create a couple of others. On click of products, I have to keep running an API calls. I would like to get a data from a different source. Now everything is static, if you can see. So if you go back to every component, all the data which I have used, here it is completely static. Just give me 1 minute. If you can see, all the code we are writing at one particular pace. Now this is not a right approach. Why? Because now let me do one thing. I will also make sure that this header code also I will try to put it in a separate component. Let me delete this code from my app.js and see inside a component how to use some sort of techniques. Okay, now header, inside a header component I am going to write. So let me see here. Oh my god, which is created outside, I think. So let me delete this. I don't want this particular one over here. Inside a component, new folder, header. So inside this header I am going to create one file, new file, header.jsx. Or you can also give name index. Better, you should always give index. As usual, same story, importing React from React. This is a header file that we have to import. Then as usual, let component header is equal to, inside this, return. I am again writing class component, functional components. Let me keep writing code that we have returned it. So in the app.js, instead of using a logo, now here logo is useless. Try to download it, import it into header component. Now going back to header component, import that. When you are importing it, the path is also matters. So 2 steps backward. Assets. Now let me download correctly. Please listen carefully. From single quotations, we are inside header. Oh my god. Control A, Control C. See, header is created outside of my directory. So wrong place that I have created index.jsx file. So now all you need to do is, you should go back to header folder. You must have to create a file. Index.js. Now in this index.js I am placing the code. So always use a single quotations instead of using double quotations. Now here also same. Yes. How many people are still with that? 31 are still with that. 30 that lega. Is it coming fine? Okay guys, sorry for the trouble. I think there is some lag in the internet. That is where the video was not able to load it as expected. Thank you so much for staying online. Okay, let me continue. See, I'll be keep addressing all your queries, Mr. Siddesh. Why are we using class-based component? I'll also explain about the differences between class components and functional components and stay tuned. Okay, cool. Now guys, if you can see the older approach, so without a framework and without a library, if you are using HTML plus CSS plus JavaScript, without using React, if you wanted to build this kind of page, what happens? There is no way you can't even create a components. This component approach, this is how components that we have created. Components. In HTML, CSS, there is no component concept. To build an application by using only these three, application development is little tough. Development is tough. Development is tough. Understand this. That is one point. Second one is, it increases the complexity. If the application size is bigger, increases the complexity. And code organizing is also tough. Code organization is tough. So, and debugging will also be tough. Debugging an application will also be tough. But to overcome about all these problems, that is where ReactJS comes into a picture. React is coming into a picture to overcome all these problems. That is where React is beautiful library. Now here, why this component approach is required? Because a component basically, component is the building block of an application, which I already said. But a component is decomposing. Component is decomposing our application features, features into smaller chunks. Features into smaller components. Okay, so if it is since it is decomposing, any kind of a bigger component, bigger application can also be divided into a smaller components. That is where the problem solving will become very, very easy. Now, instead of writing all the code within a single file, if you are decomposing that particular file into a single C, tomorrow if any issue comes into a picture with respect to header, we can even keep looking into header only. Slider, code slider, this is how dividing your application features into multiple components. And also, excuse me. Okay, cool. And if you are dividing your application components into multiple features into multiple components, assigning the tasks also be easy, and development company can easily assign the tasks to the developers. Now here, if I would like to go for other page, so that is where the routing comes into a picture. Now so far this is only one single page. Maybe one first page I have created, page 1 is created. Now according to our project requirements, we also have a second page, that is page 2, about us page. We also have, in our application, how many pages are there? If you see, our application has home page. Our application also has about page. Our application also has product page and blog. At last, cart. These are the 5 pages we have. I build only 1 page so far. Now guys, if I would like to build other pages, for other pages also I need, see, for example, to build 1 page, now I'm just, decomposing my home page only. So here you please understand the logic. The home page itself is a group of header component. It is also a group of slider component. Slider, and it also has benefits component. It also has popular product component. It also has a footer component. This is how my particular header page is a combination of these many page components. But if I'll go, this is page 1. Now I should also build page 2, which is about component. If you talk about component, in about page, so quite common. I also need a header. This is where code usability comes into a picture. I don't want slider. Slider I will keep it only in my header, so in the home page. But I also need, home page, the banner component. One more component I have to create, one more, that is banner component, that will be visible only in about. And benefits, popular products, I don't want to display in my about. I have created, I supposed to create component specific data, that is, component content. Component content separately I am creating inside my component. Next I may footer. Guys, if you look after this exercise, even the 2 components are reused. This is also, footer is also reused and header also reused. Same it applies for product also. Like that, if you are creating page 1, page 2, page 3 at page n, there are a couple of components that you may have to reuse it. If you are not using this component approach, reusability will become very tough if you are going for HTML, CSS, JavaScript web. That's why my sincere advice. So better we will try to go for this React component approach. Then any component, if you are feeling to use it in multiple places, that is where you will be able to keep using, code reusability, component reusability. Now, so here, in case if your application has page 1, page 2, page 3, like 3, 4 and 5 pages, how are we going to navigate between one page to another page, this page to this page? This is one direction. Same way, one page to another page, reverse direction. Or maybe from any page to any page, like this, or maybe like this, or like this. If you wanted to jump between one page to another page to one page, that is where the navigation system comes into your picture. Navigation system. So how are we going to build a beautiful and reactive navigation system? That is where you guys also should understand routing. Navigation can be possible by using routing. Routing mechanism you should understand. The basics of routing. So I assume that you are aware of what is, see, in case if you wanted to implement navigation, this routing concepts. So if you are using HTML routing, guys listen carefully. In HTML, if you wanted to route, we are going to use anchor tag. Anchor tag to route. In case in JavaScript, we are going to use location object, location dot hrefs. This is how. But Whereas coming to the ReactJS, but in React, if you want to navigate from one page to another page, that is where we are going to use routing. You must know what is routing is all about. Guys, if you are completely new to React, so my sincere recommendation is I would ask you people to go back to React official document. So go back to the React official document, react.org. reactjs.org official document. Go to official document and understand basics. If you are good at basics, then you will be able to easily understand. Now I am also going to use some of the basic concept. The current version is 17.0.2. I think we are also using the same current version. Go to the tutorial. So they have already given a tutorial and understand what is React. See, this is very important for you to understand. A complete guide they have given. And also in documentation, go back to main concepts, React routing. So let me search here, routing. So these guys are using some third-party applications like Next.js and other concept that they are using. But if you wanted to routing, how are we going to route from one place to another place? That is where you can even understand all these concepts. Like I think I already covered components and props, but slowly you will be able to understand each one of them. And in the API reference, so let me see React routing. Okay, fine. So here if it is not there, but I'll try to explain how are we going to use a routing, guys. Okay, so routing is nothing but navigating from one particular project to another particular project. How are we going to navigate between one particular project page to another project using routing techniques? And for that, React DOM, and you also use couple of classes that we must have to use, and switch, route, and browser history route that we have to use couple of classes. Now how are we going to use that classes? Let me check. Okay, now the routing, if we are not giving routing, so what happens, this header also we must have to keep duplicating it, and slider and benefits, and so here this is only one page. Since the app component is going to keep loading the moment when users are keep coming to our web page, when you are executing our web page, only this page. Now I should also create according to my project requirements. If you go back, now I am planning to create one more page, that is about us page that I have to create. Now guys, let me create about component, then I will try to come back to this routing. Okay, about component which I am planning to create. Just a minute. Go back to the code, and however you have created other components. Now about component, I will keep it as only a static component. I am creating one more component, new folder, about. So within this about component, let me create a new file, index.js. So you can say that there are many things that we are almost duplicating it. component definition that we are always duplicating. Now, as usual, you guys have to keep duplicating the same code. React import React from React. Then, as usual, since it is a dump or presentation component, let me create about component. So here return for time being I'm just going to return only one heading, about page design. H3 about page design starts here. Cool. Next, let me export this about component. Export default about. Now, in this about component, I am going to use it in a separate page. How I am going to use separate page? If I am not using it on click of about only, it has to load. Guys, if you wanted to do that, all you need to do is you must have to install React Router DOM. That is very important. So the step number one, if you wanted to use routing, then you have to install step 1. We must have to install library. So which library that we have to use? React Router DOM. React Router DOM library that we have to install. How are we going to install this? So npm I stands for install, and the package name. Here the package name is React-Router- DOM. So we have to save this one under -save in a package.json. This command you have to execute it. So now let me go for my project root directory. I am just going. So in the same application, project root directory, I am running the command npm install react-router-DOM, and I am saving that into my package.json. This is going to install your package. Okay, guys. Here we are using npm node package managers to install this React router. This React router plugin, this library, is enabling developer to create the navigation links. That router links, it can be taken care. Okay, guys. So right after that, let it create. It will try to take some time, and after that I have to explain about what are the different components of React router. There are majorly the 4 components which are there in this React Router DOM, which you have downloaded just now. I'll be keep explaining about each one of them. Now the way how are we going to implement the routing technique in Angular application is different. React application is different. In HTML application is different. I think it is created. Now guys, all you need to do is React DOM, Router DOM 5.2.0 which is created. Now how are we going to set up? So in app.js, you have to import, there are closely around four components that you have to import. I am going back to my app.js. So here to implement the routing, guys listen what I am going to do, clear. So to implement the routing, let me keep importing routing, implementing a routing components that I am importing. How? So you see here import, within this particular flower bracket all these guys are not a default components. So here, so browser router, so this is one of the component which is called as browser router. This browser router I am creating alias name as router, so that instead of using browser router every time, I am going to use alias name for my browser router component as router, comma route. This is second component, comma link component, route comma link component. In case if here I don't think I'm not going to use link here, comma I'll be using switch. These three components which I am importing it from React router DOM. So far we haven't used it. That is where it is coming into the picture. Now here guys, you must have to understand what is the use of each one of them. Now let me talk about each one of the class component. It's very important. Okay, routing you are already aware of it. Then how this particular routing can be implemented using this browser router and using this route, and how this switch, all these guys are going to help. Let me talk about, so these are the main components that we have imported from our React router now. What is the use of first one of them? Browser component. This is a browser router. This is responsible to look after this, browser navigation URLs. Browser router. This is implementing that HTML, using with the help of HTML5, it is going to use HTML5. History API is there. Okay, so in case if you guys are aware of HTML5 also has a lot of APIs. Among all this, history API is one of the popular API, which consists of, there are multiple states. If you ask me, it also has push state, which also consists as replace state and post state. Push, replace state, and post test. Pop, also called as pop state. So push, this is a stack. In a stack, I hope you people understand. Push, this is pushing, this is popping, and replacing. These are the different states are there in a history API. So this is going to give, this is using the help of HTML history API, and by using that we will be able to keep our user interface in sync with the URLs. As long as if the new URL gets changed, and the existing URL is going to use this replace state, and it will be keep replacing it. You need not to worry about how this is going to take care. Now, whatever the routing techniques that we are going to use it, every routing technique must be wrapped inside a browser router. This uses HTML5 history API. Next, in case if you wanted to route conditional, route is a component. This route is conditionally if you wanted to show the components. Conditionally if you wanted to show the components. Conditional rendering. Conditionally if you wanted to say conditionally. the condition route path also we are going to set. Conditionally, it will try to show the components. It's shown the components. Next, let us come to switch. So this switch is a component which is going to allow switching between multiple routes. Switching between multiple routes. Then there is one more link. So in link, as I already said, link I have not loaded here, but I'll tell you these are the main component, link. However, in HTML we have anchor tag. The same way, router links is going to generate by using link, and active link is also there. That is different story, but here you try to understand what is link. Router links will be generated. So this is the basic information about to add. In case if you want to add routing, all you need to do is in a root level we have to set a routing logic. Okay, so now how are we going to use all this browser router, route, switch? So guys, listen carefully. Let me clear out this board. Now with the help of browser, what I am going to do, I am just modifying my code. So let me modify my code according to that requirement. So since I have used a browser router as router, within this router, what I am going to do, I will be keep writing some switch. So this is going to allow us to switch between multiple routes. So this component name is capital, right? Yes. Let me copy this switch. Within this switch, I am going to keep writing multiple routes. Route. This is responsible. Route also. Route. This route component will also have a couple of parameters like exact. This is one of the attribute. So if it is matching exactly, what path? I am going to set the path here. So if the URL is empty, I am going to define my component, home component. Let me load home component name is equal to, I'll try to write on separate page home component. Though here home component is not there, I'll try to create a separate component. It's fine for time being. I'll try to use about component. My about component also I imported. If the path is this, I am going to switch. Guys, listen. For every page, I am going to keep my header, Control X. I'll keep header also. Inside a route, I'll keep header. And let me keep slide bar also. The slider also I will keep it. Control X. Slider also I'll keep it here. And popular products and these two, I don't want to use it here. And what I am doing, guys, listen carefully. I am just making some changes. But entire stuff you have to put, even footer also you have to put it inside a router only. Done. Now see my benefits and popular products. I have to create one component called home component. Let me create one more component. Separately I am creating one folder, home component. Within this JSX new file, index.jsx. As usual, import React from React. Next, let home component is equal to arrow function. So return within this React fragments. I'm just using benefit components. But these benefit components, if I wanted to reuse in another component, the first and foremost thing is you have to import these two guys. Import one component. I am also importing another component, benefits, from. So where is benefits? You should also check in the same home component. Benefits. I am importing benefits. Parallelly, you should also import your popular products as well. Import popular. But popular product is outside of, I mean to say inside a components. So for that, I am going to use single quotation / containers / popular products. So as I already said, better you will always use single quotation. Now I am going to make my component as default component, export. I am converting my component as module, default module. Guys, here this home component I am also using in, if the path matches empty, let me use it to home. Fine. Now home component you have to download it. However, about common, in case, next the switch card statement. So here the switch based statement is going to navigate between one component to another component. Now you try to see second route I am going to create. Home, now about. In case in the URL, if the path matches about, if it is about, just give me 1 minute. If the path matches about, I am going to load about component. Similarly, so we have a product component. Guys, listen carefully. Product components I am also creating into my components folder. Popular products I have created inside my containers. The products also I can create inside a containers. Let me create inside a container one more products. I am going to create products. all the list of products which I'm going to keep it here. So let me keep this one, new file, index.js. However, about I created, let me go for about. I'm just changing Control A, Control C. For time being in products, also I will try to keep the same code. I will try to change here products. Copy, paste. Here product page we are going to design. Similarly, blog page. So blog also, guys, I'll try to explain. First, let me complete all the components. New folder, blog. Index.js. Oh, this is blog. So if you guys follow me, I'm just doing nothing. Whatever we have created, so we are going to create that particular. So I think Control A, Control C. This index.js is created outside. Now inside blog, select this and create a new file. So this is creating in a root directory. I don't know why. Create blog, new file, index.js. Similarly, try to copy the code. Go back to your cart. One more, cart. Since it's a cart is also just, statically we wanted to display the data. That is where I'm going to create a new folder, cart. Index.js. Done. So, hope you are just following me. Cart. Just done. Okay. Now, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep using multiple components into my routing. Now guys, listen. If I am going back to my app component.js, I created multiple components, and here the path. If the path says, see here, product page, blog page, and cart page. If the path is products, so here we have to import products component. Products. So it is also imported here, you can see. Say if the path is blog, this is the URL. If the URL is changing it to blog, then I would like to load my blog component. Similarly, if my path is cart, I'm going to load a cart component. This is how I'm setting our configurations. Cart component. Done. That's all guys. You see here I created all. Now this is how the router that I created. Header and slider I keep it quite common for all the pages. And the footer 2 times I have placed it, but let me delete one. Fine. Now it is a time for me to generate links for end users. Now in a header component, you can even see that we also, all the links that we have created in header component. How are we going to enable these links for end users? That is where in header component we are going to use let me go for header component wherever the links are there. In header, guys, here we have to import link. Import, this is link component from React routed down. This link component that we are going to use it. Now this link we have to generate this instead of using this static, and I am going to use it. You please try to understand. Let me delete this. I am commenting out. Instead of static, commenting is not required. Let me delete it. Here guys, listen carefully. I am going to use in li, let me use link. This is a predefined component for generating a links. Now the link, here you see here, 2 is attribute. If the matches, if it is matches empty, then we are going to load a home page. This is home page. Similarly, whatever the links, copy paste. This is how many links are there? 5 links are there. 2, 3, 4, 5. Now according to my path, you see about. If it is about, the path matches about. About us page is going to load. In case if it is products, copy this. Don't even keep typing unwanted typo issues that you will get. Copy paste. If it is a product, products. Next, cart, blog. Copy this. Here no anchor tag, nothing. Then at last cart. So cart. This is the link. The link tag is always generating a link for end user. Now after making these many changes, go and check. Home is not defined under keywords. App.js home is not defined. Go back to a home app.js. Home is not defined. We have already defined component home. It is there in components home. Yes, it is there. Now let me check. It is, yeah. Now guys, listen carefully. If you come back, same it is displaying. Now if you go back to my about us page, you see here, then about us page design starts here. If I am keep navigating products, product page is displaying, and if you keep clicking on blog and cart. Hope you understand. Now you see here the speed, the page also not reloading at all. The page is not reloading. As quickly as possible, the page data is rendering. That is one of the benefit if you are going for React. Now for all other pages, okay, so header, slide bar and footer remain same. I hope you understand. Now for each and one of the link you have to create a component, and you also understand the complete mechanism. And I am planning to wind up the session since we are almost close for today. And guys, I am just giving a time for question and answers. Now today, let me keep recollecting what did we discussed. If you ask today we have learned. Let me talk about the concept what we discussed today. So I discussed about how are we going to use a component into another component. I place one component into another component. I placed into another nested components into another component. I also explained about routing basics. their implementation. I also explain about different folder structure. So I mean to say, what is containers, component versus containers. I also thought about difference between stateful versus stateless. I also thought about the fundamentals of state. What is state? But not in depth, but I discussed about what is state. I also thought about class versus just only fundamentals versus functional. I also explained about the main components of routing. And I also explain about how are we going to decompose. I mean to say, how to divide a page, create a pages, and how to generate the links, link building. So this is what you people have learned, and also today only you have learned this much. Yesterday we have created about what is fundamentals. These many tasks that you have learned in this particular session. Okay, so that's all for this week, my dear friends. In case if you guys are facing any difficulties to understand these concepts, I think we have already given our information. You can also shoot out an email to us if you have any doubts with respect to this class trainings at AchieversIT.com. Without space, AchieversIT.com. Or you can also send a WhatsApp message. WhatsApp to 82172-68018. You please try to send your message, WhatsApp messages. I can definitely help at any WhatsApp message. I can help you out. For joining this session, and if any issues with respect to this session, and if you feel this something is useful for you, please try to go back to our channel and try to subscribe. So if you subscribe and if you put your comments on that particular course, and we will be definitely going to keep creating a multiple videos, and we are going to help, because this particular course, all these front-end related issues, whatever problems people are facing,